So this time I'm going to talk about meditation. I'm actually doing this a few nights later because I talked about meditation and I don't. I ended up walking around because I was cold. And I think it makes a video that's not that easy to watch. And I was the way I want to talk about meditation is a little more like of an umbrella, kind of like a whole umbrella of topics that might relate to like meditation. Um, so I wanted to So when I was talking about, I kind of was jumping around, and I think it probably wasn't that easy to listen to either. So, when the way I want to talk about meditation is like I want to, I guess, talk about how a lot of people will kind of interact with this term meditation, maybe in terms of like Eastern religion and whatnot. So there's like Karnataka meditation. There's like the main one that everyone knows about, where like you just let your thoughts pass and try and become kind of empty your mind type of thing. There's prana yoga, like I think that's also considered like a meditation, where like you you breathe in, especially through your nose, and when you breathe in through your nose, you put the tongue at the roof of your mouth. So it's like something like that. Like there's different types, but especially giving your breath like a very like circular flow from inhale, flowing into exhale, into inhale, into exhale. I don't know how good that was, but like maybe that gave some idea of the circularness of it. It's not really a huge focus of mine, but so I guess I wanted to kind of go through a few of these different topics and give an overview of a few different meditations and sort of what the effect of it is on your practice. So, or how that interlocks with astral projection and things of that nature, especially manifestation. I think, although Karnataka, like just staring at one object for a long time, can be useful for developing skill in scrying, and also like a penetrating gaze I've heard of. So it can almost be like a form of psychic offense, like in person. I think it also trains focus, so I think that can help you in maybe that helps you with like focusing in dreams. That's something I need to mess with. I need to mess with Karnataka meditation and get better at that to know what that's all about. I might not do it anytime particularly soon, but yeah. So that's Karnataka. Just staring at one thing. It means purifying the eyes, and apparently they'd use a candle a lot of the times, like back in the day or something, which if there's fire involved, that of course sort of ignites the spirituality of it. Like there fire really is this bridge between matter and energy. So fire is really effective in magic. I don't want to go too much into that, but I also haven't messed with fire too much, so I don't know all the like things of it, but that's it's good to know about. So then prana yoga, prana yoga is probably the most significant one, in a way, or maybe it's the easiest one to do it and feel something, and then be like somehow feeling some effect that's quite something, and maybe kind of feels magical. I mean, I think a lot of people drop off because things don't feel magical enough, or they don't really trust their mind space. They just think they're imagining things, and most imagination really is like a almost a sensing, and you have to get sensitive to that and purify your intuition. But the so prana yoga doing the breathing in, breathing out. Like, there's a lot of different types, and you can look this up. Like, you can breathe in through this nostril. Sometimes I can do that without covering the nostril, but the idea is by doing this, pure air is coming in, and then you're purifying the air, pushing out the impure air, and just somehow just by using one nostril. So that's like a popular one. Another thing is, like I said, you can do the tongue at the roof of the mouth through the nose. Kind of, really kind of like as if you're trying to fog up a windshield, I guess. So maybe more like, something like that. So that's good to know. But especially if you can really be like circular with your breathing, and as you breathe, you get more like sensing your own breathing and feeling around with it. And there's some really cool things you can do with breathing, like in yoga, like breathe into your feet. Obviously you're not actually breathing into your feet, but like I think definitely energetically, your breathing is actually throwing your life force in different ways. So that's pretty cool. And that's why prana is kind of what I think if you're in a space of wanting to like convince yourself that magic is a thing, or that okay, maybe the term magic feels a bit heavy, but like that manipulating your own life force, the energy body, if you want to feel that that's a thing, prana yoga can be a good way to mess with that. And I suppose if you take a yoga class, or have taken a yoga class, or familiar with yoga, and kind of and are doing it more or less the right way with the breathing, you kind of already know it. But I think when you really focus on prana, you can really feel that surge of like ethereal life force energies, something like that, chi even. So I would recommend looking up the work of it's Yogananda Paramahansa Swami. So, or maybe it's no, that's right, Yogananda Paramahansa Swami. And he talks about breathing in this way, and his whole thing is prana yoga, even though he's extremely advanced, or was. I don't know if he's alive anymore. In fact, his great grandmaster, I think Babaji, uh, his great grandmaster's one of that guy's students is alive now. Sri M is his name. Um, he'll manifest a rudra, or yeah, he manifested a Rudraksha bead, which is sacred to Shiva. It's like Tulsi, but for Shaivas. And he manifested it in his hands on camera at the, what is it? The channel is called Beer Biceps, run by Ranveer Alabadia, I think. And yeah, so there's a lot of cool guests on there. It's a good one to watch. But yeah, he talks about some of the things that Sri M talks about doing are super advanced. It's a very interesting thing. And then you can read Yogananda Paramahansa's autobiography called Autobiography of a Yogi, and he talks about a lot of stuff. There's a lot. Like, I'm glad I didn't read it earlier, or find out about it earlier than now, because some of the stuff talked about in there, I wouldn't have had any ability to understand until recently. Like, it's so advanced. Like, even it's Western esotericism level advanced, in a sense. And when I say that, I mean that, like, I feel like for me, the basics of occult, I learned Western. Intermediate, I did Eastern, like Hinduism. And now I'm getting more into like advanced stuff, and I'm back to Western, just because I think sometimes Western lacks intermediate stuff that's easy to find like on the internet. Well, without having like a coven of witches or some shit like nearby. But I think that's good. I think I was able to learn stuff on my own, and kind of have my own ideas about things without it being like a big issue. So, but I think Western esotericism ends up being like the nectar of Eastern taken. So actually, it's still sort of Eastern because a lot of stuff in like ceremonial magic, a lot of that comes from Tantra. Um, yeah. So all that to say that what's his name? Yogananda Paramahansa Swami. He's super advanced in a lot of these ways, but his main thing he's teaching is prana yoga, which I think is fascinating. Also, and I know this is straying a little bit from the topic, some more, but I think it's interesting that Yogananda, mm, his YouTube channel is, I think it's like yoga as it is or something. No, Hinduism as it is, which I think he's kind of borrowing that from Srila Prabhupada, who translated the Bhagavata Purana or Srimad Bhagavatam, and he because it says it's Srimad Bhagavatam. No, sorry. He translated the Bhagavad Gita, and it's called Bhagavad Gita as it is. I don't think he has an as it is subtitle to the Srimad Bhagavatam translations, but he really focused on like as it is, not no intellectual fluff, uh, just religious fluff, I guess. I wouldn't say fluff. I mean, but yeah, he wanted to make it more religious because apparently the English translations were more academic. I don't know, but they're good translations. They're good stuff. As far as I know, I mean, they're powerful, and that's the point. The current of Srila Prabhupada's work is in them, which reading is another type of meditation. But I'll get to that. So prana yoga, dynamite. Try it. Like I have asthma, and it kind of it's changed the game for me. Okay, I haven't been able to completely reverse my asthma or anything, but like certainly I can make life much better for myself. So maybe I could reverse my asthma eventually. Probably I could. I've heard a lot of people will do yoga of one sort or another for where in whichever way it makes sense, and it'll fix some health issue. Like I heard a story, some guy like broke his spine in Afghanistan or something in the war, and was like he can move like just a little bit, but basically he was what's the word? Well, disabled, crippled, I guess. But so he kept doing yoga and like I guess the little that he could. They told him he'd never walk again, but he actually was able to, I guess, get the nerves talking to each other again through yoga. I don't know. I don't know the story, but I've heard things like that are cool. Like I feel like Eastern yoga type yoga exercises, things like that, have a lot of stories like this. So that's pretty neat. And then so that's prana yoga I'm talking about. That I was talking about. Talked about Karnataka. Oh yeah, emptying your mind, whatever that's called. Uh, so you just sit down and you attempt to make your mind blank, and you just let the thoughts just pass by and not enter into that pattern of thought. I think this is really powerful in training the mind into this. I heard this from actually a Western esoteric guy that he talked about how being formless is very powerful. I thought that was really interesting, and I think that this is a really great way to sort of train yourself in that formlessness. That like, because if you're an ego, you're crystallized in some way. But if you can sort of go above ego, not to destroy ego, not to be without ego, to have ego and function as a person, but to be able to go beyond it at will, to not really be trapped by ego, to be this formless thing and just let things flow. That's powerful. And I think letting your thoughts go and kind of realizing you're not your thoughts and things like that, is really, really powerful. And I think also like that kind of meditation makes you more in a weird way. I think that there's some like there's a kind of humility that comes with some of these deep experiences of like you don't even really realize you're arrogant in a way. It's not really that. It's just that you get so caught up in thinking you're this, thinking you're that. But you don't I think this is one thing that gets missed when people talk about meditation or some of these ideas is you don't even realize it though. You can be very humble in a more like uh, exoteric way, I want to say. But you still hold on to these like we can say limiting beliefs. They're limiting because when you're formless, you're limitless. It's sort of this consciousness of the aeon, consciousness of everything, that you are everything. I mean, you don't even have to think of it that way. Just this formless being uh, of the self can can produce whatever, can produce anything almost. I mean, it can produce anything, but spirit guides will block you. So a lot of times it gets talked about in terms of manifestation of like clear your thoughts, let it flow. One thing I've noticed is that if you constantly think about something, it's holding on to it, so it won't manifest as long as you're thinking about it. But because what's happening is in ether, you're actually etherically you're holding on to it. You're doing this. And so if you're thinking and you're thinking and you're thinking and you're thinking, especially if you keep thinking different thoughts about it and you're actually in ether changing it. And so yeah, so it can't move because it's stuck because it's in your hands. You're holding on to it. Um, so doing this sort of meditation can be really helpful for manifesting, or just letting go and letting it manifest. So you're not causing it to manifest. You're just letting it go and letting it manifest. So the work of manifestation is the universes mostly, but especially if you can kind of let go of different ideas of things, uh, and let go of the need to be X or Y, or the need to be in situation X or Y. A lot of times things can manifest pretty nicely, and that's pretty cool to see. Yeah, letting your thoughts, like, yeah, emptying your mind kind of thing. It's a really neat experience. I would recommend anyone to try it or have some time in the day dedicated to it. The thing is, I think you don't have to just sit down and do nothing. I think, like for me, sitting down and doing nothing is kind of effective, but for me, yeah, sorry, a train passed by, so I paused it. Um, for me, the I can just play video games, and actually that's way more effective because I enjoy playing video games and I kind of lose myself in the process of the game's process. I enter, the ego of whatever the game is. I think I think that's a neat way to look at it. You know, um, yeah. But yeah, I think it does exactly the same thing. Maybe more actually, because video games, for me, they very nicely reflect my own consciousness at me, and I can say, "Oh, I lost this game. Why did I lose this game?" and analyze that. Maybe that's what we're doing, through life. Who knows? Maybe video games are like the ultimate like microcosm of existence in a way. Like that is a medium. Huh. Um, but yeah, of course, drawing, painting, doing manual labor, like you just have to find that uh find that formlessness. But I think a lot of times with the occult, so what I've heard a few times is that the a lot of these systems exist to sort of make you aware of something, to kickstart your awareness of certain ways of thinking or existing, or stimulating your energy body or whatever, because it's just a lot of these experiences are just so obtuse that you kind of need like a special like primer to do it, to feel it, to figure it out. So I think you get to a point where like maybe you need to sit down and just let the thoughts pass, and find that empty minded but more like formless minded state, that state of the formless self. um, and then you can find it in drawing or whatever. So but I think that if you kind of like know how it works, maybe you wouldn't need to do it. I needed to do it. I needed to sit down and just be mindless or thoughtless sometimes, and find it through the actual legit practice, and then I could do it through video games. But I expect a lot of people find it through the alternative thing first. Yeah, so as far as manifestation, um I think the most effective uh, methods to manifest, just in general, like better conditions, has been either doing this formless mind kind of meditation over maybe weeks, like a little bit of time each day, and then on the other hand, like asking some deity for some specific help, uh, offering them something especially. So it's cool. Which leads to the next thing, is the next topic, which is doing this sort of formless mind meditation, but then sort of putting that formlessness into a certain like deity, and meditating on that deity, and then that deity will open itself to you. Or maybe the word deity is a bit heavy, but like God, like uh, I didn't say. I think maybe no. This is the time to say it. That I would say like the Abrahamic idea of God is probably, I don't know. I've never like I was a Christian for a long time, and it never really opened to me of what God is. And I think it's in Christianity it's very much like the Aeon in a way, but then the Aeon actually has a persona and is a person. So it's like it once ununderstandable and not human at all, and absolutely expansive everything else. But then they sort of, through Jesus, it kind of has a persona, like Jesus is a persona. But then even Jesus, I feel, I never felt, when I was thinking through Christianity, I never felt that I was supposed to understand Jesus as having a particular persona. But then reading about Jesus, he seemed like almost like violent, antisocial, psychotic, you know, uh, spiritual type, which has its place and I think is really cool. I think that's my feeling about Jesus. Um, the kind of person that's like sees something that he doesn't like and throwing up the tables, cursing the fig tree, which I think is pretty awesome. But um, all this to say that I think focusing on the Abrahamic God, I've found to be very uh, kind of fruitless. I don't know. I expect that when people have success with it, it's because their focus actually goes on like Deus Peter or Indra or whatever. So I think some people actually activate their holy guardian angel or like higher self without really realizing it. But then it just becomes like a very uneven road. And also, if you do things in good faith in the universe and you're careful with your karma, eventually you just your intellect, just or not intellect, your consciousness will manifest your desires, and you'll be protected, because if there's not the karmic material for you to be harmed, it's a lot harder to harm you. So I mean, we are coming out of an age of ignorance. Maybe maybe we're still going to stay in this age of ignorance for a long time, Kali Yuga, but Some people think it's ending and we're coming out of it, or maybe we've actually completely come out of it, according to one article I read off of this Australian alternative magazine. Anyways, yeah. So a lot of us have a lot of karmic shit that we're getting rid of, and which is yeah, that relates because a lot of the point of focusing on deities is to get rid of karma. You know, you can focus on the deity and they can destroy your karma, especially Shiva and like Krishna or Vishnu. Um, it depends though, because I think they're reluctant to destroy your karma sometimes if it's important to like your dharma. So sometimes they're like interwoven. I've noticed. So like it depends. uh Also I'm not really convinced that Shiva or Krishna or Vishnu are like the ultimate god per se. I don't really know. Um so but yeah, focusing on union with a god can re kind of overwrite the karma of your life, even if it's not like having the effect of actually destroying your karma. Focusing on them, meditating, giving them that formlessness, which is to me kind of I kind of see that as super consciousness of like the god in you, that which is super in you, which is just a mode of thinking. Like when you're happy, you're super conscious. Like you ever notice how some people like are not good with money but they're happy, and then they just don't really go through that many issues. Like you can just choose happiness in life a lot, and that can insulate you right there. But I think if you chase delusions of career or something like that, but you don't find a way to sustain yourself and be happy and be content, I think that can really do a lot of damage to your psyche. And I think when you build your life on bad premise on incorrect premises, you're just inviting in trouble. So it's kind of like that. I don't want to nail it down too much like that. But I have noticed where like sometimes people when people just choose to be happy and choose to do things that make them happy, that or even my own life, like when I've done that, it's changed everything. So I would say that's proven to me in a lot of ways that consciousness is more powerful than matter in that particular way. I knew that before, right? But knowing it and feeling it and actually like understanding how it works particularly, and like actually being able to actuate that with your mind is quite different. So yeah, meditation, um, union with the beings. I guess the last thing I would say about that is like I talked about this a little bit with astral projection. I just kind of hinted at it, but um, if you focus on like Varuna, I mentioned, um, that can improve your circulation because he controls flow, um, and especially like flow of money. The flow of money for you will be much better, and that can happen pretty fast. Um, and then you can do Ganesh, and Ganesh will remove obstacles for you. And an obstacle can be anything, so that makes Ganesh really, really powerful to build that union with, to build that relationship with. Just